Oh, hi, I'm Deck Save Dan, and welcome to Deck Save Dan presents the Tabletop Role-Playing Game Book Club, or DSDPTTRPGBC for short. In every episode, I'll be casting a critical eye over a book in my collection. Things I'll be looking at include artwork, initial thoughts, the content, favourite moments, and of course, my final verdict. As you can see today, I'm looking at Frontier Scum by Karl Druid. So let's get stuck in. Frontier Scum, an acid western role-playing game. This crazy Wild West game is exploding with awesomeness. If you want something that's gonna scratch that yeehaw itch, then I think I've found it. First up, I'll judge a book by its cover. This is one fantastic looking little book. A digest-sized book that cries for you to pick it up and read it. Surrounded by the print images of skulls, saddles, cockroaches and bowler hats is the quote, "A game of insatiable greed where scum live one slug away from the grave." Thick cardstock front and back with a rough feel which is perfectly in keeping with the feel of the book. It looks and feels like something you'd pick up on the great expanse of the Wild West. No spine, like me, which is an interesting choice, and again feels like it fits the bill. But from a function point of view, it means that you can open the book and lay it flat, completely flat. Genius! Genius! This is doubly genius, as there's a quick rule reference guide on the back, so you can open it up and that makes gameplay quicker and easier. Now my thoughts after a quick flick through. So after a quick flick through, it seems like it might be a little bit confusing to newcomers of the hobby, as it reads like a 19th century newspaper, something that could have fallen straight out of the video game Red Dead Redemption. But there lies the beauty of this. It pulls you in with funny little adverts like "Ever drunk whiskey out of a shoe?" and "Ace in the sleeve." Next to that is printed a picture of a hand holding a royal flush. This isn't just reading, it promotes exploring every page. Every picture, every advert, every table, it pulls you in. Everything is spot on here. Everything is on theme. The printed pictures are gorgeous and it's written beautifully. Next, we'll look at the setting and most, maybe not all of the rules. So as credited in the book, this is inspired by Morkborg. That means it's deadly, brutal and rules light. Set in the Lost Frontier, which is comprised of places to explore like Covert City, Carcass County, and the Screen Ives. All you need to know about these places are written in newspaper articles at the start of the book, followed by a simple to read map, giving you the lay of the land. So this is a roll-over D20 system where player ability scores are grit, strength, toughness, melee attacks, slick, dexterity, deception, range attacks, wits, knowledge, perception, medicine, and luck, gambling, and just not getting shot. So stats and health are low in this game. When you're rolling up your abilities, you roll 1d4 minus 4. And for health, it's only 1d6 plus your grit, a minimum of 1 health points. Because going by your abilities, you could actually be minus in abilities, which could affect your health. Characters or outlaws are easy to roll up with random tables, which is handy as death is common in this game. These random tables give your outlaws their name, appearance, and what crimes they've committed, and if they're wanted, dead or alive. Backgrounds give your outlaws your skills and some loot to start. You could roll up a discharged deputy who was caught drinking on the job and wears a heavy wool coat. This means as a heavy drinker, you have advantage on grit rolls when ingesting booze, and your heavy coat can reduce damage. And as an ex-deputy, maybe you have disadvantage when dealing with lawfolk. So there is a difficult rating for ability checks for your GM, Games Marshal. Yeehaw. This ranges from 6, which is foolproof, to 18, which is almost impossible. PCs can use their skills to roll with advantage if the GM and PC agree it fits. Sometimes skills can be a bit ambiguous, but there is a whole page that gives you examples on how these skills might play, which only adds to the flavour. For example, the skill you stayed your jailbreak. This gives you advantage on invoking riots, picking locks, or impersonating a guard. These skills are great for backstory tidbits and can really flesh out your character as you go along with play. So one thing I do want to mention is this quote in the book about ability checks. Successful or not, an ability check should always move the action forward in some fashion. It's no good getting stuck on rolling for the same thing over and over again. I love this. I would suggest everyone get on board with this, not just for this game, but for every game. Bravo, Frontier Scum. Bravo. This is a player-driven game, so GMs, games marshals, rarely roll. Players will be doing most of the rolling. They'll be rolling to hit, they'll be rolling to avoid, unless you're being shot, in which case it just hits. That's right, it just hits. If it's not a hard shot, i.e. it's not a moving target, or the shot isn't obstructed, or it's in range, bang, it hits. This means if you have 4 HP and you get shot by a hunting rifle that does 1d8 damage, then start praying, boy. Dr. Panash's column explains everything you need to know about rests, conditions, being poisoned, cold, and of course, drunk. Because what kind of Western would this be without knowing the effects of overindulging at the saloon? This does of course go over the death system as well, which even gives you tables to tell you how long it's going to take you to die. For example, 1d6 drawn out days of misery, or if you lose an ability score. There are a page of enemies that are nice and simple to pick up and drop in, and an adventure to get you started, called Escape the Organ Rail. I don't want to go into loads of detail, as I don't want to spoil the adventure, but you start at the back of the train, and you've got to make your way through each train car to get to the engine. And you'll encounter loads of acid-fueled craziness along the way. This adventure also has enemies you can lift out and drop in if you're running your own world. There are some great random tables in here. On a table, there's a locked case, with a separate random D6 table to tell you what's inside that if it's ever opened. Brilliant! Random tables for odd jobs and opportunities if you need to earn some extra coins, and of course, bounties, if you ever need some real coin. You roll a D12 on a table and take the bounty. I'll be using some of these random tables, and I can simply homebrew them into any of my games. The only thing that I wish is there were more of them. There are rules on hunting, foraging and fishing, which are really easy to follow. And this gives you stats on animals, even a skunk. If you're sprayed, you have disadvantage on all ability checks until you're fully bathed. Awesome. Going on benders, carousing some of you might know it as, are covered with tables to dictate what was won and what was lost and who you owe. This could be a debt to the Outlaw Union or the Incorporated Bank that gives you a long T's and C's list to read. However, my favourite part of this game that I'll be nicking is horse creation. When I was rolling up my partner by using the simple tables provided, he really began to take shape. The likes table is particularly great. My horse likes putting out fires. Great if you're stuck in a burning shack. Not so great if you're settling down for the night in the Dust Barrens and you need to keep warm by the campfire. You get 6 different stat blocks which add variety mechanically and rules on riding checks. All really simple. This makes your pal more than just an animal companion. They're a PC in their own right. I'm definitely having this. Finally, my verdict. Now at first, this book can seem a bit hard to understand due to the layout and how it is presented. But I think that works in its favour. It's immersive. This rulebook is part of the game. It's a rulebook, adventure module and prop all in one. For those only familiar with the big TTRPGs, it may take a few goes to understand not rolling to hit and NPCs not rolling and everything being so deadly. But I love the rules-like nature and the ambiguity as it encourages you to fill in the gaps. I say, grab your irons, saddle up, and prepare to run into some Wild West wackiness. Pew, 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 pew! So why don't you pick up a copy of Frontier Scum today? Thank you for joining me on DSDPTTRPGBC, and I'll see you next time.